quantity, but we got quality.
There you go.
We did a reading 2 weeks on 15. Was I together with 8 other people? We did a book on Ozark nature poetry by a corner post press, and so I had arranged a reading out at the Ozark Research Field Station of the university. The biology department has this old farmhouse there, and so they came from all over, like Arkansas, southern Missouri, and we had 6 of the poets there, and some brought their spouses, and one brought their kid, and the field station manager was there with her spouse and her kids, and the field station caretaker was there, and there was an audience of 3. 1 student, 1 professor, and 1 alum, and that was it.
Wow.
So, because it was bad weather.
You gotta offer free food.
Yes, there was a reception, but they had a tornado warning, and so it was nice. I was out there at 3:30, it was sunny, we were outside till 4:45, and then it rained and we went in the house. That was when that storm came through here.
See some big trees down here.
You know, the most money I've ever been paid to read poetry in my life, I paid $3,000 to read for 20 minutes. And but I had like 6 people show up. But I still got paid.
Who pays that much money for poetry?
It was a college that shall remain nameless, but I got paid $3 grand for it.
Wow. Our college.
I've never gotten paid anywhere near that.
Yeah, well, you just need to get a reading of John Carroll, they give you about that much.
Wow.
Is that right? Wow. I've been to John Carroll. They pack them in there.
John Carroll, they give you $2 grand for half an hour.
Wow. Yeah, most I've got is $500.
That's about average.
That's,
It's
yeah.
sort of ballpark. I'll take $500 any day.
Yeah, I was
You know,
thrilled to get it.
$2 grand is a tax problem, that's what that is.
Yeah, that happened to me this year. I got a grant from, through the ARPA funds, COVID relief, and then it ended up increasing I had to pay the IRS $700, and then I had to, it made my subsidy for Obamacare, so I made more than I said I was gonna make, and so I had to pay back a bunch of my subsidy.
Gotcha.
It ended up,
Gotcha.
almost evening out.
With your title that you have now, you apply for fellowships, and somebody just told me, and I'll look it up, but it's $50,000.
For where?
Oh, through the Academy of American Poets? Ray McNeese just got one of those.
Maybe that is it.
Well, a puke grant.
I think it was mainly poet laureates. You had to be that and then apply, but does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's what he did, yeah. I need to check into that.
You do.
Because that might be where Carrie got hers too.
Yeah, and Carrie Gunter Seymour got that too she did the Appalachian
I think it was
Anthology.
50,000. It might have been 30. I don't know, but it was
I
something.
mean, a Pew grant's $50,000. The Pew Foundation and then the Academy of American Poets. That sounds about right.
Yeah, the grant I got wasn't anywhere near that.
See, 50 is great. 5 is a problem. Like 50, you can do something with. 5 is like a tax liability.
Yeah, just mine was $2,000 and it was a tax liability.
Yeah, it's problematic.
See, Missouri pays 3,000 here and then 3,000 expenses.
Yeah, but then you have to keep your receipts and get reimbursed for
Oh,
the
you are
other half.
reimbursed.
It's such bullshit. Missouri pays less than if you were the poet laureate of Erie, Pennsylvania, which is only 1/2.
Oh, we're
Hey
live
John,
streaming.
we're live streaming.
I know. Well, they can hear that. It's fine. They're not gonna pick me. Did you hear me stop?
Oh, yeah.
John Carroll, are you listening?
All right, we'll get going. All right. I'd like to thank everybody who's here today. Wonderful, some of the people that we have that are here. People that aren't here tonight will be sorry that they missed it. Of course, we are, as Mark said, live streaming. So I can curse Missouri out later. But, all right. I wasn't intending to be here, so I'm a little bit frazzled. Jason Reberg was supposed to be your host for this evening. I really hadn't intended to do this again until July. So if I screw up, I screw up.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
John, welcome back.
It's just because Jason's he's not dependable. And I will say that on camera.
Welcome back.
But all right. I told him I was better at this than him anyway when we talked on the phone. And he was like, that's true. But all right. I'm so super happy to have my friend John Burroughs here. Like, I wasn't sure we'd ever get you here. Crazy happy to have Shelley here, which was a total surprise. It was awesome. I've known these guys probably for about the same amount of time. We've known each other about 15 years.
Yeah.
And you know, they
Yeah.
came from Cleveland, Ohio, by way of Florida. In your case, John.
Yeah.
John just came from St. Augustine. And next year I'll give it a try. And we have Scot Young, who did not come by way of Florida. Who, Scott, are you officially in Theodosia?
And
Is that
you
your
didn't
like-
believe it until you saw it.
I'm a disbeliever. I'm a disbeliever, but you look fantastic.
I'm in Ozark County. I live in the woods. I live between Theodosia and Gainesville, between Bull Shoals and North Fork Bay.
I do, you know, Theodosia, I know is your post office box, but I didn't know.
And there's a Dollar General,
Every town in
and
Missouri
a
has a
marina,
Dollar
and a
General.
bank, and a bullseye. That's it.
I'm waiting for the town of Missouri that is a Dollar General. Let's,
We
all
get
right,
firearms.
I've known all you guys for a long time. I've probably just got a little bit longer, actually. It's gotta be close to 20 years, something like that, or however long you've been doing Rusty Truck.
Probably, that was like 09, but it seems like,
Well, that's when I met up with you.
yeah,
But I've
well,
talked to you
you're right,
before
you're
that.
right, yeah. I don't know.
So, but, well, I'll stop talking. I actually was more prepared today than usual, and I sort of wrote out bios for everybody, which is probably gonna be my downfall, usually just. But, all right, we're gonna start out this reading, with Scot, who is the author of All Around Cowboy.
Yeah.
Scott, do you have that up on the table? You bring that with you?
I don't,
Okay.
but I've got them in my work bag.
And it was published by the disreputable Jason Reaper.
It was.
But yeah, All Around Cowboy was published by Spartan Press. Scott, for years, has been running the online magazine Rusty Truck. He runs another online magazine called Deuce Coupe from time to time. I know that's kind of when you have the material, you do it. And he's runs the Second Chance Breakfast Club. And you know, those kids are wonderful, man.
They are.
You're doing God's work there, really. And I hope that makes up. We say that makes up for me complaining about the state of Missouri right there. They can chalk it up. But no, Scott, it's great to have you. Just come up here and read some poems, man.
I think I'm gonna see it. I'm a high school teacher, principal, and superintendent. Before that, 33 years ago, I was a construction worker in Kansas City, Union Construction. So I went from bad language to watching myself. And when my professor came in during my first observation, I said, "How did I do?" He said, "Well, you didn't cuss, so that's good." So, this first poem is kind of where I started at in my teaching. It's called Poetry 101. I never sat with Brodigan in a North Beach bar or hid out with Bukowski in the City of Angels. But if I had, I may have learned early what the pages don't reveal. Instead, I taught a poetry class to your abused, broken, and neglected children and started to give them metaphors, similes, and personification, but they knew figurative language well enough and tried to wear the face of normal, wanting to be like other kids, tried to hide the scars with just ink tattoos and too much mascara. They read their poems of incest, of rape, of beatings, of parents in prison, of being hooked on meth made down a dead-end country road, how life is not supposed to be at age 15. They learned that giving human characteristics to inanimate objects sometimes lessened the pain. But I changed my lesson plan when one of them said, "Hey, teach, what is good poetry?" I suppose it is keeping your wounds close to the surface so they can heal quicker. Is that it? On most days it is. Like I said, I grew up in Kansas City, Raytown to be exact, and when I was about 17, my girlfriend's sister and her husband owned two dinner playhouses there. One of them was Waldo Astoria, and the other one was Tiffany's Attic. So I was a janitor at Waldo Astoria, and during that time I saw a lot of actors come through, Don Knotts, and this is, poem is called Gone with the Wind for Butterfly McQueen. I met Miss McQueen in '74. She was on stage in KC in a starring role, and I cleaned up after the dinner show and all the money went home. She told me once I would do great things. I told her I wanted to go into construction. Shaking her head, she had the biggest smile and said that was not what she saw. She said she didn't care for streets paved with gold and never believed in those Jesus myths, that her first acting job was a maid and probably her last role as well. That when she did Gone with the Wind, she couldn't go to the premiere. It was whites only. When I said that was a long time ago, Miss McQueen, she smiled, placed her hand on my arm and shook her head. No, honey, it's not. She was quite a lady. I soaked up all of her light that I could when I was that age. I was just amazed by her. She was hysterical, actually. I grew up an only child, but I had an older brother who was 10 years older than I was, so I never really knew him as a brother, because by the time I got 6th grade, he was out of the house. Anyhow, we worked together in construction. He passed away, so any of you have ever lost a sibling, it's kind of rough. This poem is called The Son Too Embarrassed. I heard when Johnny Cash died that Dylan said he was the North Star that you could guide your ship by. I remember you shifting through the gears of your midnight green 65 Chevelle, Mickey Thompson mags on the way to Mugs Up to see your best girl. And how you always did the right thing, playing it safe, never taking risk, never going head on into that good night. I remember how multiple wives and roommates each altered your DNA just enough before cleaning you out. how each one chipped away at you until there was only dust. I can tell you it was good weather for a funeral. The sun too embarrassed to show its face. But it is never a good day except for those that cashed in and stood graveside, blank-faced, with hands in their pockets. And you know that girl from Bugs Up was the only one to speak when asked for comments. She broke the quiet awkwardness, said you had the best smile, and stopped, left it at that. But I knew there was more that wasn't said. Hiding behind sunglasses and fighting tears, I remembered the way you laughed the most. Walking to the car when everyone promised to keep in touch, I repeated in my head, hoping that you could hear. Growing up, you were my Johnny Cash. I don't care how many times I read that damn thing, it's tough to get through. This little girl was about five years old, and I would eat breakfast with her. She was 5. She had lived in 4 different homes in 5 years, and the last home she lived in, foster home, they gave her back because she was prone to get angry. This is a haiku sonnet titled Child Protective Services. There isn't a bluebird sitting on a cherry tree blossom in March. That only happens in photo shoots, not here on dirt roads with a single wide trailer set back in the woods trying to hide the embarrassment. Dad back in prison, mom strangled by meth, grandma too old, poor. A little girl sits at breakfast counting her Lucky Charms. First class I taught of poetry, I was a principal in the first class I taught when I got to the office, and I thought that the counselors were going to give me all of the good kids, the rich kids, doctors' kids, and such, and that was not the case.
So you did get the good kid.
I did get the good kids. I learned that pretty damn quick. This one's when Daryl read his poem. Daryl said he had attended 9 schools in 11 years. He told the class about being too fat, and sometimes his mom and him were too poor for Christmas. He said he is slower to learn and can't read like the other kids. He said in his poem he hasn't had a friend since 2nd grade, and when he says his prayers, he asks God to send him one. He said when he believed in Santa and all that magic, it was always on his list. You could hear the second hand moving, the tears starting to form when Sam, from one of the richest families in town, said, "Daryl, I will be your friend." Sam went on to be a youth pastor. His daddy wanted him to be an attorney, but he chose something else. This is a poem titled She Only Wants for Hannah. She says her parents loved her so much they divorced. So at 14, she walks 3 miles down a dirt road to drive her grandparents home from the bar that turned into all day. When her dad moved back before going back to the pen, and she had her friends over, he would send her out on the 4-wheeler. Said she was a cock blocker. She had to Google that one. She believes the boys think she's pretty when she goes braless at school, but behind her back they chant limericks that rhyme with her name. The last assignment was to write a poem titled What I Want in Life. She turned hers in within minutes, punctuated with a heart. I only want what you want. All right, let's do something a little more that'll make you smile, maybe. This one's called Cashed In Her MFA. She wears plaid skirts and knee socks on Saturday nights and drinks too much. Lets bald men spank her for money and tell her she's been a bad girl. But there's enough freaks to pay the bills, put her kid through college, so she quit writing poetry a long time ago. On Sunday, she wears fishnets to church, sits on the front pew, gives the preacher a little hellfire of his own, crosses and slowly uncrosses her legs enough that he yells, "Hallelujah! Give me an amen!" Stays behind the pulpit until way after the sermon is over. This is after breakfast, the last day of school. And this poem is over there on a little Poems for All thing, and they're free. And the Butterfly McQueen poem is there too, and you're free to pick one up. And there's 2 books by a San Francisco poet I published 13 years ago. It's a little risque, but you're welcome to it. This is called After Breakfast, the last day of school. JC sat in my office and buried his head in his hands, sobbing between dropping the F-bomb, said some kid looked at him wrong, called him a effing psycho. He said it's getting worse. And it's been like this his whole life, and every father he's ever had called him worthless. Before I made the call, he made a gun with his hand, put his finger to his temple, and said, "This is how it ends. F this." I lied to him and said it will get better when he gets older. Just give it time. He looked up with nothing in his eyes and pulled the trigger. A lot of things aren't real, but people are real. When I was young, I was a bouncer in a bar in Kansas City. It's called Jerry Westport Country Playhouse. And on Thursday nights, when the wrestling matches were over in Kansas City, Kansas, Dick Murdoch and Dusty Rhodes and several of them would come in the bar. And Murdoch was a friend. Dusty was, he was just Dusty, but what I discovered was he didn't talk in person like he talked on camera. He sounded like I can't think of now. But anyway, this is called, this was Dusty's famous line he did in a lot of promos, and it says, "I've dined with kings and queens, and I slept in alley eating pork and beans." The American Dream said that in his promos, from his early days burning up the highways, sleeping in his car in cheap motels. It's kind of like a poet then, isn't he? I knew him in the late 70s, before big time TV, before Vince made him wear polka dots to humiliate him. He talked about hard times and hard knocks. He told me one night swirling whiskey in his glass, the kings and queens and pork and beans was his story, his American dream, that a man never knows where he'll land coming off the top ropes. So be kind, Daddy, and help your brother when you can. The next week he was pounding Flair's head open, scoring it with a razor blade. Then it was Rick's turn. Blood was expected. He said, that's what the fans pay for. In 2015, when Dusty Rhodes died, the dream died too. Or maybe it died before then. When they rang the bell 10 times with an empty ring, the Nature Boy cried. The arena cried, and I couldn't hold it back. Today I still have a shelf stocked with pork and beans because you never know coming off the top rope. I got time for two more.
Yeah, go ahead.
This one, this mother called me at home and said her daughter was going to read a poem the next day in class, and it was about her father, and just wanted to prepare me. I couldn't think of the title, so I titled it, Sometimes a Good Title Really Doesn't Matter. She read her poem without emotion about her dad. Said he always called her Daddy's little girl. That she was taught before she became a woman the way to her daddy's heart was through his pants. She said her mother knew but looked the other way or ran errands. When she told the priest she wanted to be a boy, he had her recite 3 Hail Marys to the Blessed Virgin. I sat motionless, trying to find the right words, but those 15-year-olds taught class that day when they held her in a group hug. While she bowed her head and cried, nobody heard the bell ring. I'm going to close with one that's not so depressing. Maybe. Don't do it. I can't find it. I had this bookmark, I'm sorry. Okay, it's the last verse that Nobody Knows Blues. From California, this land is singing to the New York Island, the blues. 12-bar field hollers ring from slave shack blues. The smoke rises in Mississippi juke joints, foot stomp on the downbeat, bend the E string on pawn shop guitars, of Bo Diddley boxes, shoebox made on a warm, slick shotgun porch blues. The heat rises, cigarettes burn in neck strings. Old blues is played with eyes closed and black cat bones on the edge of a swamp with too many gators in the no moonlight of the backdoor man sneaking out blues. Part of the CC rider doing a free ride. It is King of the Delta blues man teaching us to play slide on a flat top blues. The fog rises. We hitch with Woody. See San Francisco wail the blues, singing the tap, tap, tap needle on homeless sidewalks, singing that somebody's little girl turned walking the midnight sidewalk, won a date, got some shit blues. The sound rises through the F-holes. We walk the line of ramshackle housing, heat turned off, of absent fathers, moved out, moved on, of halfway houses, of safe houses, of crack houses, of a factory set up to fail the huddled masses without a house blues. The flag raised to the screaming, silent blues of Walter Reed teaching heroes how to walk on one leg. It is a blues riff of yearning to breathe free. It is the grade school children learning God shed his grace on thee for the first time blues. It is the foot stomp on the downbeat, the tap, tap, tap slap on the cracked guitar blues when we are still humming the tune, eyes closed, but have forgotten the words.
Listen, you got me in a good mood now.
Good.
Stay ahead.
You're smiling, I'm glad.
I love this whole about kids. I know it's not easy subject matter, and I've talked to those kids a little bit. I enjoy getting to talk to Robin. Like them.
Good.
If kids had more classes like that, I don't know. We'd end up with more problems, which you can either take as a good or bad thing. All right. Well, thank you for being here, Scott.
Thank you.
Sorry I gave you a little bit of a hard time. I've just been tired.
Hey, I'm glad to see you upright.
Yeah. I'm glad to be upright. All right. So, with that, the next person I will have come up is Shelley Chernin. And Shelley is the author of The Vigil from Press's Chronicles Press. There are copies of The Vigil out on that table. It's a beautiful looking book. I somehow have not seen that book. You did a great job putting it together.
John
Both of you
published
guys.
that.
It's a beautiful book.
My daughter's artwork on the cover.
Yeah, it's awesome. Shelley, I actually wrote this all down too. Shelley's work has appeared in the Great Lakes Review, the GTK Journal, Durable Goods, and October Tongue. So she's come a long way to be here. She flew to be here. Everyone give a nice round of applause to my friend Shelley
John, I'm thrilled to be here. It's lovely. I've been just really enjoying Belle the last couple of days. What a beautiful place. Really, really nice. And the hospitality is just wonderful here. Everybody's been so kind. So, I'm going to open and close with ukulele songs, I think. And in the middle, I'm going to read all love poems because we have an anniversary coming up in a couple of days. So, it's a little bit of a different reading for me, but hopefully it'll be fun. Not as serious as yours, but I love the poems, especially about the children.
My wife told me,
Fabulous.
Shelley, because I was going to open with a little John Prine like Scott used to do.
I
You should've done it,
wish.
man.
I wish.
And she said, if you do that, they will pay you to read your poem and stop singing.
Well, that's it, Scott.
I don't believe
At the
that.
end of this, you have to close with John Prine at the end. Now that I
Yes.
know.
And since we're in a bookstore, it could be, digesting Reader's Digest. I love the ukulele, by the way.
I have no idea what to listen to.
Sounds
I think
like
it's going to be close enough. My darling, it's not that I don't love you, but I know that you're doing the best you can. But darling, sad to say, I have to leave you and find myself a different kind of man. I need a man with a loaded ER for treatment. Every time I get a UTI, I need a man with a low deductible plan. I need a man with a Kaiser coverage card. I need a mammogram, a pap test, and a thyroid scan. And so, my love, I must say au revoir, or move to Hong Kong, Ireland, Chile, Cuba, Fiji, Thailand, Argentina, or Qatar.
Yay.
Thank you. That actually was written at a point when I was getting divorced and having a really hard time finding health insurance, and it happens. Okay, so on to the love poems. This one is called Tongue-Tied. How can I sink into the belly of words when I fly? I try to grab strands of your hair. There, a velvet moment passes my palm, embraces ambitious fingers, lingers in the oils you gifted me. Or perhaps I nipped from your skin, hidden still on my wrists. I sniff your scent and descend again, swiftly gone and drift and thrall, recalling how you lifted me onto you. Mute, I kite to heaven. We kiss. We kiss in a cage. We kiss in a cage of our own making. We kiss in a cage of our own, making believe nobody sees us. We kiss in a cage of our own, making believe nobody sees through intercostal spaces. We kiss in a cage of our own, making believe nobody sees through intercostal spaces. We openly swap breath. We kiss in a cage of our own making, believe nobody sees through intercostal spaces. We openly swap. Breath slips between ribs. We kiss in a cage of our own making, believe nobody sees through intercostal spaces. We openly swap. Breath slips between ribs. I notice their eyes. Thank you. My cock.
Your what?
My cock. You
I
said.
thought it was accident.
You said, it's yours now, baby, not mine anymore. This makes me think of King Missil's detachable penis, and I realize that owning a cock involves serious responsibility. I don't want to misplace my love muscle and then find it up for auction on eBay, where I'll need to blow my wad to ransom my handsome piston. Can't suppress inflation, baby. I'll have to pay a stiff price in that meat market to free my Peter, but I'll open my velvet purse and do whatever it takes to snatch my schnitzel from the covetous throng, even at the cost of avoiding the obvious, because your gift to me is more precious than easy rhymes, and therefore, with my acceptance of your extensible excellence, I hereby vow to keep my cock safe in a warm box of its own, to which I hereby give you the key. So, yeah, it's the 13th anniversary of the Deepwater Horizon. I don't know if y'all remember when the oil rig blew up, and there were, I think, about a dozen workers on the rig who were killed, and then there was oil in the water. This poem was written around that time about something else. The consequence of fluids in motion. The explosion was foreseeable in hindsight. There had been spills, flare-ups. The blowout preventer leaked at least 3 times, and gas bubbled into the well. The drill kicked against the rising pressure as the core resisted, defended, refused to yield natural fluids. Inevitable, that kiss. We stood in a parking lot that April night, bantered about whether I needed you to escort me to my car, then stopped talking, stared. Suddenly, a failure of blacktop. Ground became living lava that drowned and consumed in one breath. Dangerous. Platforms that seemed safe. The Coast Guard called off the search for the missing, deemed this a catastrophic gusher. Families mourned. Soon, turns would fall. Tar balls glob ashore, and oceans emulsify. Perforce, we ride the flow of petrotides. A deep-water horizon cannot be staunched. The line between oil and water will weep plumes, then dissolve. Okay, this is a 3-parter called The Parody of Love. 1. Despite its title, this poem is not about tennis. I can't stand the racket that disrupts a loving start. And yet, I am infected by the tennis of it, by balls jammed at me as if there could be a winner, as if there's even a competition. Odd that anyone keeps score beside my name when I won't set foot on the hard court of passing judgment. I sit at home, unseated, but still possessed by that dream in which I ghost into the net. So, you have my confession and disclaimer. 2. This is not about nothing. The additive identity of elementary mathematics would deceive by its many aliases, but ought and not cannot gain me by sleight of name. No spectral twins haunt the hallway between positive and negative. 0, divisible by every integer, every power of 2, must be the most even number of all. Please excuse my digression. 3, the service line has worn away from overuse, and I stand on an unmarked plane of asphalt, considering whether my beloved wild card is even or odd. Sunshine loosens the blacktop under my sneakers, and I don't know what base I'm in. No 10 written on the horizon, no demarcation of an exclusive system. Contextual, the parody of a digit. I am not at deuce. Here's the sweet spot in the gut that enkindles the match, the oddball that soars out so many decimal places, it may be perfect. This one's not so mathematical. Inspired by Yoko Ono, who often inspires me. This poem is called Just a Story. I didn't break up the Beatles. If I'd never said breathe, never let John pound imaginary nails, never constructed the white ladder to magnification, if every what if never was, one would still be 4, not 4 parts of the one. I'm not guilty. I didn't break up the Beatles, believe me. I did not insert myself nor inflate. Nothing was permanent. We sat. Half the world sat in the studio, always dying, you know, making up music in their minds. It wasn't me ended the applause, not me. I was mother, looking for my hand in the snow. My love and I, We had no hands, couldn't grasp the band, specks of dust. We floated amongst the trillion stars, dreamed each other. I'll give you some truth now. I'm a witch, I'm a bitch, I don't care what you say, I won't paint my face and dance for you, won't hide until everyone dies, no, no, no. Listen, the snow is falling. We were only people. I didn't break up the Beatles, they drifted. John and I watched the wind, two different things altogether. Now.
It was the Maharishi that broke them up. Once they went there,
You think?
yeah. The world blamed her, but,
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of factors there.
It was all downhill after Detachable Penis.
Which I'm hoping is the next final song on the ukulele.
Oh gosh, I wish we could.
Victor and I are big King Missile fans.
Yeah. Another three-parter. This one's called The Proofs of Love. 1. Infinite regress. On the third night we spent together, a tortoise moon dug her nesting burrow in the firmament. Although she covered her clutch with dirty sky, Sirius ate the eggs as we watched their mother's luminant carapace trudge toward morning. We know so little of nature. Our survival depended upon darkness, so we did not grieve the loss of moonlets. We thanked our lucky stars for the hungers that shielded us. At dawn, it rained oracle bones, inscribed with hindsight. The ancient script was faultless. Nothing was remembered. 2. Circular argument. We are indistinguishable our first winter. Reflective. Squamata hibernate in underground dens. Snow effaces some tracks, records others. Our indentations glint missives to illiterate clouds that squall their response. Illegible blizzard. Trapped between slices of wonder, we find each other's eyes in an ice blink. Use this trick of polar light to braze ourselves together, but we are embrittled and startle at the noise of copperheads rustling below. We know the danger of mirrors without smoke. The icicles above us drip snake spit. 3. Dogmatic stopping point. We have never spent a single night together, let alone 3. We speak in trilemmas, share reptilian moons, hope a hatchling sun rises in the west. Enlightenment, alive by heliacal reversal, we will name her Eos. Infallible, our 5-line skink will pull herself out of the swampy horizon by her own tail and leave it twitching azure into the sky. Snakes, lockjawed, will break off the search for prey. Appendages regenerate, and so we will communicate with colors. Terre verte will green the umber. Spring will come. I'm going to read a favorite love poem by somebody else, and then I'll play you one more song on the ukulele. This poem is by William Matthews, the late great William Matthews. It has a title, it's Italian, and I will do my best, but I know I'm going to mangle it. And it's translated in my poem in the first line. So I'm sorry, it's translated in William Matthew's poem in the first line, so, the title is E luce van le stelle, and the first line of the poem begins, the stars shone, so he translates it in the poem. E luce van le stelle, and the stars shone, and the earth unstoppered its perfumes, the garden gate screeched open, footsteps lisped along the path, and they were hers, and she was mine. And my hand shook the more slowly I unwrapped, and dawdlier I kissed her, and her aromas rose, and the hour fled, which is the way with hours. And I've unveiled myself of any hope, and death's steps rasp along the path, and like any star, I have nothing to burn but the life I love. Okay, so that poem inspired me to write this song. In part. There's a boy at my garden gate. He's bearing verbs. He wants to conjugate his past and his present participles are tense. His future's perfect parts of speech immense. I let the boy through my garden gate. Romeo comes knocking at my door. But soft, wherefore art thou a metaphor? Oh, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. When his verbiage blossoms, my jardins replete, and in long hand he doodles je t'adore. There's a man lying in my bed. He writes haiku with words we haven't said. We're poetry in motion, spontaneous cliche. We assonate, alliterate, and rhyme. Wordplay. That is to say, I love the man who's versifying in my bed. Wish he'd make love to me instead. I'll read his chapbook when he's dead.
See that guaranteed readership in the afterlife. Thank you, Shelley.
Great job.
And I wanted to say that in the past, Victor and I with Riverdog, when we do our magazine, we've done like fold out broadsides, and sometimes they'll like be authors that represent a particular city. And even though this will make more work for Victor, and I didn't talk to him about it, what I'd like to do, and I'm sure you'll be okay with it, is John, I'd like you to help us, and the three of us put together a fold out broadside of Cleveland people for this year. If you would help us do that.
That'd be great.
And mostly, like, I have my own ulterior motives. I'd like to get a bunch of stuff by Shelley in there, because as long as you and I've known each other, I don't think I've really gotten to pay attention as much as I got to today. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
You know, when you go around the car, like sometimes like you don't get to really stop and like just pay attention as much as you'd like to. So this is actually like, I think this has been one of the best readings we've had. For me, it's like the most pleasurable, so I really appreciate it. And catch me in a good mood is a rare thing. So with that, I'm gonna bring up our final featured reader, and then we're gonna have an open mic. That's what this notebook is for. People can come, sign up after I'm done here. And but our final featured reader is super, super good friend of mine, and I hope he would agree with that statement too. You know, who's, I think, published 6 books of mine, read 6,
Yeah.
and probably hundreds of other people, and you've done so much good. It's sort of what I was saying to Scott, but it's in different ways. It's all God's work to me. Like, I'm not a religious person, but if you help bring poetry in this world in whatever fashion, like you're like breaking boulders as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
Scott, thank you again. John, thank you for doing what you do. All of it. Because I think for several years, like, in the city of Cleveland might hate me for this, but I think like you and Diane and a very small handful of people have kept that city's poetry community going. And it's not just Cleveland. Like, if you go to any city in America, it's usually like 2 or 3 people running everything, and you can vouch for that statement. And so I just want to thank you for what you've done for Cleveland too.
Thank you, brother.
So I'm gonna try to follow my bios that I wrote down. Well, whatever. So our final reader for the evening is the current National Beat Poet Laureate for the United States. Said is my good friend, the author of Rattle and Numb, and your current collection there. What is the title of that, John? I didn't know.
The Rest of the Worthwhile.
Well, I'm sure there'll be a lot more of the worthwhile, and people will get to hear it. And, you know, you already know you're guaranteed an audience in the afterlife, so there it is. You're doing better than most of us. So, without further ado, John Burroughs. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Wow. It's so good to be here in Belle finally. I've been envious of all my friends who have been here over the years and telling me good things about this community and this residency, and I'm super grateful to my friend John for luring me down here, and just one of the most fine people I've ever met, and I'm
Just glad I could still be here. You know,
you're here,
it
man.
means a lot.
So yeah, thank you for having us. This is a wonderful, and I love the bookstore. I had to force myself to only buy 5 books, although there were several more I wanted. So yeah, I'm John from Cleveland, and I wasn't intending to read love poems this evening, but now that Shelley has broken the ice, I'll at least read a couple. This one's entitled Love Shot. I want to push into you my fear of pushing into you, but not infect you with a fear of being pushed too hard. I want to plunge all my poetry into the toilet of us till we rise, flush and brimming with words unspoken, to tear pages from the book of our fecal pasts and burn them for warmth. I want to marry you without burying you, kiss you without our lips ever having to part, and leave the resulting mess for someone else. I want to stoke your silver engine, stream past you like a highway, wash over you like a river, take back everything I didn't give you just to store it up for the rainy days after I retire from commitment and you move on to Tom, Dick, or someone scarier. I want to die and be reborn as a rock star, geologist, Astronomer, I want to orbit you like a moon, but not always show you my best side. Want to blaze like a comet, break free from my circuit, plunge into you, burn out in your atmosphere. I want what you are in ways you probably won't want long, and ways years later I hope you'll still want strong. I want to fire my arrow into you and quiver. All right. So that's an older poem. I usually don't write such overtly sexual poems anymore, but so I'm feeling a little blushy, reading that now. But this one's entitled "Slipping Backwards into Blue Eden." She drew me in to the Cain and Abel, and into the under the table and dreaming. I was in a Dave Matthews video. I crashed into a melodic yearning for burning harmonies yet unheard. She drew me in to the bird and bush and sent me scattered into the cold garden air like a serpent's sycophant falling tail first down a psychic staircase. And the way she stared at my wasting shivers sent splinters up my tree of knowledge until I forgot why I felt the fig leaves necessary. Yesterday, I haven't read this poem in a long time. Yesterday was the anniversary of the death of Prince, who, when I was a teenager, I came from a very sheltered background, strictly Southern Baptist. I was afraid to be myself. I was shamed for writing poetry, for wanting an earring. And so discovering Prince kind of gave me permission, like it was cool to be unusual and, to be yourself. And so I wrote this poem after he passed away. It's entitled, and so the sung parts in it are lyrics that Prince actually sang, one of them a cover song. The poem's entitled, From Genesis to Exodus, after Prince Rogers Nelson. In the beginning, there was God, and God was much more than a B-side to Purple Rain, the single before I Would Die for You. God was the one I called faggot in high school several years before I knew better and became a true believer and realized I was pansexual. God was ubiquitous on MTV the summer I entered the Marine Corps at 17 and exited the Marine Corps, still 17, dazed. You're gonna have to fight your own damn war. God was there, purple, on screen, during my first blowjob at the Tower Drive-In. And he was always there, on my clock radio in Wilkes Villa, seen and known, unseen and unknowable, in my homeless backpack in Cascade Park, plugged into the table cassette player at the Lorain County Community College Library, and in the background as I went down for the first time on Cassie's Raspberry Hooray. God was still there, a prince of a man, as I made it through college, cut off my wannabe Jerry curl, took a job at the gay bar, lost and found my identities again and again, and even when, through enforced sobriety and concrete cell walls, I watched 1999 come and go and raved unto the joy monastic. Joan Osborne asked,
What if God was one of us? And he was. And he walked among us. And often we knew him not, especially when he became Jehovah's Witness and exorcised his songs from YouTube and bought into chemtrail conspiracy theories, Percocet pantomimes, and a fentanyl flatline. Because living can be painful, even when you're God. Especially when you're God. And in the 21st century, God was still here with us, even as TMZ declared him dead. And though I live on Alphabet Street, no psalm of mine can capture his new power glory. Yeah, I usually don't read that poem because it has that word in it. But, you know, when I first discovered Prince, you know, that's what I was taught, you know. And that's the word I used to refer to him until I realized what an asshole, you know, trying not to be myself I was.
John, I'll have to get you. My friend Jason Weber used to be the executive editor of the Toledo City paper. Wrote a book about Prince called Purple Bananas.
Ooh.
And I'll have to get you a copy of it.
Oh, I would love that.
They're in talks to make a movie out of it right now. So I'll get you a copy of this book.
Purple Bananas, all right. Yeah, that'd be awesome. So those were all a little older poems. I'm going to read a few new ones now. Let's see what we have here. Revolutionary sentiments. The misty doors bumped against his mind, made him remember the reason for his paralysis. She was terribly attractive, a window or a flower, inviting a wet complicity. Entangled with an effort to come out of mourning, he watched her, grinning. The overhead light was deliberate and slow, their faces greedier and more vulnerable. Stretched out on the bed, their wet mouths burning, the world wasn't so full of dead folks. Faith without works is dead. I saw "In God We Trust" across the back bumper of an Ashe County sheriff's car. Made me wonder why they need a sheriff. Yeah, I got a lot of little short ones like that. Okay, I'm trying to read poems that y'all haven't heard before, but I think John and Victor have heard a lot of them. So in July, I agreed to do this 30-30 writing a poem a day for Tupelo Press. And it was a challenge because I'm used to writing a poem and then working on it and mulling it and living with it a while and then fixing it. And they wanted to have the poem that day and then put it on their website that day, which made me very uncomfortable and vulnerable because I'm like, oh my God, it's not perfect yet. Of course, it's never perfect, you know. A poem is never finished, it is only abandoned, as Paul Valery said. But, so here are a few of those poems from that 30-30 for better or worse. This is entitled A Hierarchy of Needs. I need to write a poem for Tupelo Press, but my not-so-latent OCD wants to rebel against my writing a July 1st poem on June 30th. I need to write a poem, but tomorrow's the 1st, and several bills need paid by then. And when will I find time to walk the dog, and shower and shave, or even complete yesterday's journal entry before handyman Carl arrives at 10 a.m.? I need to write a poem. But I haven't yet checked Facebook or Twitter or read the news or even brushed my teeth. And my partner's son and his fiance are here from New York, and I don't want to be rude, and I have so many other things to do before volunteering for Art Bar in Cleveland Heights from 5 to 10 tonight. So many shallow lines about what is nickel and diming my time. I need to write a poem because I'm thinking about my friend Terry Provo, who just died, and his wife, and his teenage son, and the January 6th hearings, while Ohio aims to arm teachers and enforce a heartbeat bill that bans abortion after 6 weeks, despite the fact that a fetus has no heart then, like our legislators. And the Supreme Court has overruled Roe, and I have no satisfactory reply to my terrified niece, who asks if things will ever be normal again, or only get worse. Through a glass darkly, a couple I've called friends for over a decade share on social media how we should celebrate our interdependence over our independence. And I agree. But I wonder how this reconciles with their recently unfriending me. Obviously, that was July 4th's poem. July 3rd's poem, going backward today, is Dog Day. When all else fails, my dog comes to the rescue. So, Dog Day. Valerie assures me a poem is never finished, while Rilke asserts that no feeling is final. Dickinson replies that seeing summer sky is poetry outside of any book. Cocteau says a poet listens, does not invent, while I detect an emerging theme. Weary of obsessing about who said what or what to say, I embrace the poem's lack of finality and walk my dog in the warm wooded air. Smile watching him run with abandon. Thank you all so much for being here, man. Scott was fucking awesome. Shelley, I knew and was again fucking awesome. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing as many of you as possible share at the open mic.
Scott is not done yet because he mentioned John Prine, and we're gonna make him.
Oh, we're gonna have a John Prine cameo. John Prine is gonna come in his new
You
form.
guys gotta sing.
You might be a
You,
few.
you certainly
Let's
don't
sing
want me
along.
to sing.
Let's get a medley together.
All right, I'm gonna give you one more poem, and then I'm gonna sit the fuck down and listen to y'all, which is what I'm really excited about doing. This poem's entitled Lens. Violence! Silence. Violence. Silence! Less is more, and more is less, and silence is most golden to the rich and oppressive, and would be impressive if not for the give gone missing from nature's desired balance. Give and take, and give and take, and take, and take. The record keeps skipping. Time to pull out the needle. Violence! Silence. Violence. Silence! Stuck in the same groove. Sometimes I feel like an acquisition infected by a control bot running as my masters intend whenever anyone sticks coins in my slot. Like I'm programmed to consume and consume, subsume, take a nap, and resume, consume, subsume, like size matters, bigger is better, stronger, faster, forget impending disaster. I want to be the $60 million man when I grow down. Can't wake up, need to drink more coffee. Can't go to sleep, need to drink more wine. Always hungry, need more mine all the time in between. Never satisfied. I dine and dine on more and more swine. Prove the proverb true. I am what I eat. Maybe sometimes you are too. Violence! Silence. Violence. Silence! Distinction blurs. So they say, kill 'em all and let God sort 'em out. We human would-be gods can't wait to start sorting the money and land and command the dead leave behind. But first, we need your assistance. Be all that you can be. Join. Consume. Follow. Consume. Collect. Consume. Kill. Consume. Die. Consumed. Submission accomplished. Violence. Silence. Violence. Silence. Contract the compound. Distill its essence. Sigh. Violence. Vi. Silence. You can spell it either way, with an S or a C, but contract it further. Vice. 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 Vice, baby. The record keeps skipping. The handle keeps turning. The head I've been helping to squeeze is my own and my children's. Time to pull out the needle. Stop churning the handle. Look in a mirror for a moment. Put my vying and my sighing aside and focus my lens.
Ray, that's what you was talking about.
What?
That's what you was talking about
When? Oh, yeah.
today.
I like the echo up the back.
Thank you, John. Much
Thank you,
appreciated.
brother.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I want to take a second and just give everyone an idea of when we are going to be here next, as far as the schedule goes. Our next event that I have planned is May 13th. Agnes will be here with
Nice.
a group of her friends that are all Ozark riders. I
So
believe.
far, one is saying he's definitely gonna be here, so it might be just me and Phil, and we'll just read some of the poems of the other folks.
That's okay, we can all, I can get 8 other people, we could all come and read in the voices of those
And it
people.
is that we're gonna read about from the Wild Muse collection.
So is that book available now?
It's available now. I got a couple copies on me, and I will bring more on the 13th.
Cool. Well, greatly appreciated. It's May 13th, which is a Saturday, at 6 o'clock. And so we will be here. I will be here. I'm gonna have to be doing radiation, but that is a Saturday, so I should not be in a hospital. So theoretically, I should be here. And so from there, we're gonna have a big group reading. We always do at least one big group reading during the year, sometimes 2. Our next one will be June 17th, And that will feature, I can't even remember, it's somewhere between 12 to 15 people. Justin Ham is going to be our guest host for that evening. If for any reason he is negligent like Jason Reberg, I will be your guest host for that evening. Going to your parents' house is not a tour, I'm just going to say it. But, all right, so beyond that, Tony Brewer and Snow Matthews and Jonathan S. Baker will be here from Evansville, Indiana in July.
Okay.
Don't quote me on this, but I believe that their reading day is July 23rd. Then in August, Caitlin Jones will be reading with Mac Thorne. And then in September, Tim Hierdink and Andrew Mulvaney will be here. And in October, I plan to read with Scott and Dottie. And that just pretty much takes us to the end of our season, which is always in November, and that will be Dan Wright and Timothy Kelly will be here. And I'm sure I'll fill in some holes along the way, but they got me pretty scared, so I kind of figured out our whole schedule, and I'm grateful that I did in advance because it's pretty awesome. We're gonna have one of the best years we've ever had. I'm thankful for that, thankful for this store, thankful for Mark, thankful for Tony for being here. Even thankful to the state of Missouri. But they just need to give their poet laureate more money. That's my only complaint. That's my only complaint. And it doesn't have to be me. But what I will say to the people that do the Beat Poetry Foundation, if they are looking for a one-eyed diabetic who's relatively useless, I'm their man. If they're to represent Missouri, I know they don't have one, I can be their guy.
I second that emotion.
But like you, John, I'm a big fan of Prince, so out there. But Scott, can we coerce you into
I don't
singing
know
John
who
Prine?
Prince
You're
is.
not gonna do it? Not
Prince
gonna-
came way after me.
well, no, I'm gonna say, are you gonna sing some John Prine? You gonna do it?
Are you gonna sing with me?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna do
called
a
it,
verse.
you gotta do it
the
too.
only song I know of John Prine's where I can actually kind of do that is "Please Don't Bury Me" because that's what Scott would always do.
I could play that, but I don't have my guitar.
Now, if it was Guy Clark, I'd be right there with you, but I don't know enough John Prine, I'll admit.
I have that. No, I'm not gonna do it.
All right, all right.
But I'll do Digesting Reader's Digest in the back of a dirty bookstore. A plastic flag with gum on the back fell out on the floor. I picked it up and I went outside and slapped it on my windowsill. And if I could see old Betsy Ross, I'd tell her just how I feel. Well, them flag decals don't get you into heaven anymore. They're all overcrowded from your dirty little ward. And Jesus don't like killing, no matter what the reason for. Well, them flag decals don't get you into heaven anymore.
Okay, well that made it
Is that
awesome.
enough? 'Cause that's bad.
Thank you, thank you.
Everybody feel
Okay. With that, Agnes asked me to put her on this list, but I'm gonna ask anyone who wants to be on this list, please come up, or Agnes can pass it around. That notebook is new, bought just for this purpose.
Are we taking a break or we're just going right
We'll
in?
just go through. I don't suspect the list will be huge.
Victor? I
No.
didn't bring anything. I'm just here.
You got
for
2
the-
names.
All right, well, let's do it. Let's do it.
I might have one of your books in my trunk.
Y'all gonna sell some books?
There was one on the shelf.
Oh, so are you gonna do it?
I'll read them.
All right. Well, I'll call you up last. That way you have time to find that book.
If there's something like that.
Well, since Agnes asked me about this list, I will have her read first since it's a short list.
Okay, it's a short list and So I was gonna read some new stuff, but realizing that nobody's heard, most of you have not heard my old stuff, so I'm totally torn what to read. But I'll read some new shit. And yeah. Oh, by the way, when is Gascony coming out?
Don't ask me. Call Jason Reber.
It's Jason.
I'm about to step down because of Jason Reber, because I gave him the material last September. So call Jason Reber. That's my answer to you.
Do you want to wait till folks come back from the bathroom? Or?
Yeah, we can. No, I'm not touchy about that. I'm just tired of people asking me, and you know.
I get that.
Yeah. My portion has been done for quite some time. One of your best books. I really like that book.
That's a good one.
Cosmetically, one of your best books too. I think they did a great job.
No, I do too. Oh, there's stuff in here.
Okay, do you want me to wait? Do you want me to
Are they coming back? Let me yell.
I don't know.
Let me yell. Okay, anybody who wants to come back in, if you're in the bathroom, Agnes is going to read some poems. I can hear you out there.
We're trying to buy some books.
Hey, hold on. Don't let her read yet.
Are we looking at books now? Then I can go buy some books too, but we can also maybe buy the books after.
I thought so. That's what we were doing.
What? Buy the books after?
No, yeah, I thought that's what we were going to do, but.
Sean says he thought we buy.
Yeah, we don't have it. Yeah, we don't have a huge list, so.
Thanks, Agnes.
Huh? Let's see what that
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
paying
So
attention.
I'll go ahead. So I'm not gonna read anything from the new book because I'll read from that on the 13th, but I want to read one from Coracle for Dreams of that came out last year. I'm from Dresden, Germany. 800 years old castles, cathedrals, opera houses, museums, anything culture you can imagine. And then I emigrated to Roma, Missouri. This poem is entitled, "This Town Does Not Inspire Love Songs." Unlike the stately city that was home, this town does not inspire love songs. Does not enrapture painters, and composers don't dedicate their symphonies to it. 800 years of history I traded for 150. Cobblestones for asphalt and sandstone balustrades for clapboard. Traded the opera for the town band, where old men in lederhosen and red knee-highs play on summer Thursdays on the courthouse lawn. There's a lot in here about immigration and family overseas, and this is called the Cosmic Bank of Good Deeds. My mother's garden lies untended. I send her flowers over the internet. My hands help another woman on a different continent mow her grass, plant her tomatoes. Small deposits into the cosmic bank of good deeds. I hope Mom can make a withdrawal. Something new. This is called What Remains. The assistant at the Goodwill store recognizes the old woman who comes in and brings 3 pairs of black dress shoes, men's size 10. She was here last week, dropped off a bag of shirts. Crisp collars, good quality, they sold quickly. Another time, 2 suits. A winter coat, never worn. The assistant has seen it before. They bring the dress clothes first, later the sweatpants and the everyday jackets. They hesitate when they hand over the first small bundle. Then they grow bolder, and the bags get larger until they don't come anymore. He knows they keep the faded favorites longest. The gray sweater with the frayed seam, the worn slippers. They are not fit to donate anymore. This is my only poem I have about chemistry. I'm a physicist and I hate chemistry, but this is a poem about chemistry. Alchemy. Lay the tarnished silver on a piece of aluminum foil in a glass bowl. Sprinkle a spoonful of salt, pour boiling water over it. Wait. You do not need technical terms like anode and cathode. You do not need to know the chemistry, why sulfur feels a stronger affinity to aluminum and leaves the silver shiny. You can marvel at the magic. I perform the trick in my kitchen. A faint sulfuric odor rises. The silver spiral with the turquoise center I bought from a Navajo artisan in Santa Fe on my birthday looks like new. If only we could cure the ills of the world with such simple potions. Release what tarnishes souls in a foul-smelling whiff at the wave of a wand. Can I do one more? Okay, so I want to read one from Eden of Perhaps. That was my COVID book. Came out in March of 2020. So I did not really get a chance to read much from it, and so I'm going to read this one. Teach me. Teach me to do outrageous things, to jump in the abyss and grow my wings as I fall. Teach me to go all in, to commit without fear. Teach me to hear what the universe whispers. Teach me to let go with grace, to face the uncertainty, not to cling to security. Teach me to sing when the pain gets too deep and I want the long sleep. Slap me, wake me, shake me out of despondency, out of complacency, out of this saturated, overfed life. Teach me what it means to be free, to be me, to throw the world's expectations on a pyre, to become the fire that liberates, animates, recreates me. Teach me that only I hold me back, that I hold the deck, that I deal my own hands. Teach me to dance on the precipice. Teach me to fly, to cry, to dream, to scream, whether nobody listens or the whole world. Teach me to not give a damn. Thank you. And I did bring a couple of books if anybody wants one.
And I didn't mean to disrupt commerce. There's nothing more I love in this world than people buying books.
We'll do commerce.
Got two more readers on this list, and then we will cap it off so that everyone can talk to each other, which is my favorite part of all of this. So, all right. So the next person on our list is a gentleman that I'm not sure everyone has gotten to know. I'm sure that's probably not everybody, but who has been a friend of mine for a long time, who came down here as an OAC resident in January. And if you come down here in January, there's not always a ton to do. It's my favorite time of year because I get the most work done here. Any other time of year, it's wonderful. And for me, the best part of being here has been the productivity. Like, I've gotten so much more work done here than I would have gotten done anywhere else. So, but the next reader is someone who just makes art like as an extension of his hand, in my opinion, perpetually making work. And that is my friend Raceway, Rick.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time with John this last month and a half. I'm sure he's tired of me by now. I'm gonna start with a longer kind of prose poetry piece and then 3 shorter ones. Yeah, I'm not gonna explain it. Let's just go. A definitive maybe. I just like playing with words and meanings and pulling them apart, and you'll see. Life dangles in front of me like a carrot supple. I'm a burro with the legs of an ant. When the clock spins around on my face, I climb up to the basement through the moonlight. I am a diminishing return. Both of my feet are 2 big forms of we. Tomorrow is always a day away. Yesterday runs from my face. My posterior rubs up against the next me. Your Greek Sappho runs around setting fires in hearts dry from the famine. The flood and blood and the principles of pleasure keep me close in a warm bosom embrace. Again and again the wind carries fragrances in and out of gardens and governments, changing clothes every few centuries. Naked as the birds, I tickle the divine. I take on the god and goddesses on a tightrope line from the mountain to telecommunication tower, power line to tree line, bee to flower, pollen to collar. The dream ended and Monica scrambles eggs and neurons, firing day glow from Blake to Dylan. A new wake dreams of dead leaves passed and pressed in a book of classy pin-up posters. Her bed is full of the blood of silence. His appetite is insatiable. His arms embrace the air in bows of rain. He shoots a song through the cracked ceiling to tear down the vestiges of heaven from earth and not of. Her tears dig a hole in the terra to the root she believes in. The ants make a beeline. The bees rebel against the queen. The drums beat out the night's heavy mascara. The hips tilt and drink the ethereal groove locked between the bass and her. The moon wanes and waxes for summer. Hair is pulled in play and lovers lose their egos in each other. Clouds of pink, clouds of vazul, a mist of soft clucking. I'm not a man, I'm a poem. I can't write myself, and away from the blankness I must be. Only the mess is for me, and in the eyes of the youth I will live long and learn how to forget myself. Roses remind me of graveyards and whitewashed walls and dirty villages with dirtier children. The bitter taste of deflated love gives me hope and a better tomorrow, filling with other flowers and other florists. Wildflowers not cut, lovers running over hills and singing unchained melodies of daisy chain gangs. I pray in a ball, God, let me win. Strange feeling of a thaw gnawing at my tingling flesh. Fantasy in a blue dress dancing on a sky of diamonds on a far-off mountaintop calls and blows into my ear. Whispers of vespers and anesthetized, neutralized trivialities as mountains are moved and hearts uncorked again, flowing clear water from a clean well, an open vein, a trapped moth behind the glass. With teeth and with days, with trees we are dancing poplars. Valley oaks inlaid in the chest of the singer glows golden as the high notes are hit and the bottom drops out. This is the sound of now and everywhere. The willow weeps for unmitigated circumstances. Eora, Eora, cries the sun. The flying fish jumps into the frying pan. The spirits watch with mild amusement as we run around our heads like they were empty factories. We throw ourselves against the wall like spaghetti to see where we stick. Only perfection hides behind dreams, hides out in the open, perfect all, every moment. The new eyes and the old eyes meet for a drink and end up on different sides of the fence. Meaningless dresses up in a nice suit of meaning, selling us something we already have. The dirt is there to comfort always, with its couches of the dead and wet rivulets of ancient flowers. Wishes are for fishes, and so are the worms after the rain cleans the air, which clears the ears for the pealing bells of the abbey in my chest. I cry from all the perfection. I laugh at my reflection and stand the mirror on his head just to see who is who, and I might be forgetful, but I remember what it was like to be old before I grew up. All right, that's long. And the 3 shorties. A purge before you. I hope the dream lasts forever. This dream lasts forever. God in his most REM splendor, animal chaos and love to send your chill to the base of our spinal cord, casting for deep-sea fishing reports, enjoying the way the uncut grass quivers, shivers, waves, and bows down, the colors of each other's eyes, the order of the wild or the wilderness in town. A world lived one God at a time, your eyesight laying directly on the timeline. 1 point POV for us all. See, in the end, we're going to need everybody. I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. As you approach the pinch point known as now, ride the tension, stare off into the trough. A point above the waterline, you approach the shore, then you're undone, undertow, scattered to the waves, in particular individuals, blessed in imperceptible recyclables. The rising water meets the falling sun. You sparkle and crash. And finish this off. Attempting anything. I caught old biddies out back polishing weeds. I caught old men polishing dirt roads. I wax holy minutia. I wax the whole kit and caboodle. Russian water drops. A Michigander laughs. This poem turns on itself, spurns tombs and wealth, lays down like a line and dies a good death. Thank you.
Hey, John, I forgot to sign up.
Okay.
I had an emergency.
What's that?
I had an emergency.
Is it a restroom emergency?
What difference does it make now?
All right. Well, with that, then I will have Victor come up and read, and Steve, you can close it out. Emergencies aside.
Yes.
I honestly just came to listen and be with some great people, so thank you all. I didn't plan on reading, but this book was back on the shelf. It's Barb Books. When I'm done, I'm going to put it back on the shelf. So
Take it home, Victor.
pick it, someone else pick it up and support this bookstore because it's great. Thank you, Mark, for everything that you do.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for coming in. I haven't read out this book in a long time. It's actually, what was it, 2017? My Finger in the Hornet's Nest. It was like 2017 when this was put out. This says it's number 57 and 75, so there you go. You can't pick it up anywhere else but Barb's books. So, Father, the future was once a yo-yo in the pocket of my youth. I was in control, saying prayers and eating vitamins, yet sacrifice became as common as paint peeling off park benches, and dreams placed on a back burner eventually melt down. Now this town sleeps in the cold plot next to boredom's casket, but my children are alive, educated, no love. I hope one day their eyes see contentment in their reflection off of the vessel that compresses my ashes. Oh yeah, this book had a bunch of sonnets in it. Okay. Number 1. Rust tints pale skin. Jagged edges tear holes completely through the knees of pants. Don't climb the fence. Junkyard. Hubcaps shaped like waning crescent moons, leaning against building walls. Last quarter, last dime, last nickel, last penny. That's 41 cents. I haven't seen Flannery in 20 years. It's my own foolish fault. No longer a teenage boy chasing girls like clock hands chase the ghost of a second ago in a black trench coat and dancing shoes with dirty soles. And this last one I read. And there was markers in there. So this book either belonged to me or someone else marked some poems to read in it. This is number 3, and it's for our friend Nadia, who at the time when this book was written was in Dallas. Now, where's she? Massachusetts.
I forget where she is.
I think she's up in Massachusetts, happily married, got a little kid. So, for Nadia. I assume that it is hard for people like us to keep secrets from the coroner. When our body is up on the slab and our blood is no longer imprisoned. Death and coffee are only as dark as you wish them to be. Human brains confuse me. A switchblade penetrates and I'm not even sure I mind. I once wrote that I felt like a drunk hummingbird. You once wrote that you felt like a firefly leaking light. It's 5:06 p.m. as I sit here writing this. Raindrops fall down the window pane and 2 blackbirds sit on the power line outside. Clock hands chase the ghost of a second ago. And with a finger in the hornet's nest, we are all eventually bound to have something wet on the laces of our souls.
And that wet thing is spinach because someone has put water on it. We fucking know it doesn't need it. It's fine the way it is.
Yeah, water your spinach, folks.
Tired of being treated like a second class.
You should dry it out even further. Why not?
No, yeah. All right. So with that, we will close our evening with this next gentleman who is, I think, concluding his residency here very shortly. Are you, Steve? Or are you gonna? Are you
Theoretically.
Okay. Well,
You can't get rid of me that easy.
theoretically, we will see this gentleman again. So it's nice to welcome up and close out our evening, Steve Bridges. Thank you.
And this is actually from my forthcoming book. It's going to come out someday. We'll have to ask the absent publisher what his plans are.
What his intentions?
Yeah. We're not sure.
What are your intentions with Steve's book?
Somebody ask him. I can't. This is from that. It's something I wrote fairly recently, and most of it happened. Oh yeah, it's drinking something with Billy the Bootlegger. I'm not telling you any more of my adventures. I'm sick and tired of making shit up and calling it hyperbole. It's all stuff that never happened anyway. It only exists now in my sleepy monkey mind. So-called progress has taken all the best from us and left only a bowl of vacuum cleaner dust. Besides, it's all dreams and raindrops and a laugh riot joke besides. But I swear this next part is all true. I just can't and won't believe in the rest anymore. Not since I spent one night of many drinking local rot gut wine with Billy the Bootlegger. Billy taught me some stuff, simple and true, sharp and edgy as a bread knife. Billy said with a laugh, the wine was French, the liar. It was clearly labeled Barcelona Sweet Red, with a screw cap yet. Never French that. He sold a couple of underage bottles to me at his tiny house, hidden at the end of a dead-end street on the rock bluff up behind the old Paseo High School. They're both now long gone. Of course, I never went there in the daylight and could never find it now if and I wanted to. Billy told me that after he came home from the first big one, he never really left town again. His plan had been to go out west to be in the movies. As it turned out, the local bottle market here was deep and wide. The money poured in like the wine poured out, especially with all the young people growing up so fast, thirsty for something real, and all with such nice cars. He told me first thing as we unscrewed open a couple of those bottles of Barcelona, sitting on his front steps on a beautiful moonlit night. Somehow or other that night I had gotten away from my controllers. Don't believe everything you think, he said with a wink and nod and a sly smile. This momentary satori opened up the soft, ripe underbelly of epistemology for me, just like a bright yellow papaya sliced in half in front of me on the counter. This bit of holy wisdom came to me just in time, too, as real life was beginning to speed up, hurtling down the pike at me. No one at the wheel either. Certainly not me. I mulled this over, taking far too long as usual, going too near the intellectual razor's edge, and what do you think I came up with? Don't believe anything you think. Billy was getting on by then, and he told me our first evening together that everything important to him he learned from Andre Breton. They first met in Paris one dark and stormy night in a well spent at Chez Bricktop in Montmartre. Billy deserted his platoon, pinned down back in the bloody trenches. He just had to get away. I know that feeling oh so well. Breton had the nerve to tell him, shouting over the band from the next tiny table. He said that after a long drink of surrealism and a couple of well-aged shots of Taoism, it's pretty near impossible for a fellow to take the dream seriously. But no, never mind, he laughed as he waved for more champagne. Anyway, that's good.
Steve, did you grow up in Kansas City?
Yes, sir, I did. Class of 49, St. Luke's, class of 49.
You're a youngster.
Yeah, I told somebody that once, and they said, "Really? You graduated from medical school in 1949? You look great." Here's one that's a little more, you all did such a great job. You had some really great, dark things that I just loved. Loved those. So here's one. Hobo Bob looks for spring in all the wrong places. For E. E. Cummings and Jonathan Swift with fondness. It's now rumored amongst those in the know that the powers that be will soon bring back lynching from horseback to discourage the vote, that traditional exercise of our constitutionally mandated franchise. It's what's next, now that waterboarding has proven so effective in preventing any further utterance of scrofulous truth. Abortion, no doubt, will soon be finally exercised nationwide by the noble, pious, and holy amongst us to prevent love, sweet love, from further spreading its anarchic and riotous fright across our sacred land. It has been reclaimed from the pagan other, who has finally lost the perpetual culture war. Institutional disembowelment must certainly be close behind in that long line of powerful inducements to discourage those that might, by chance or choice, become a mite peckish and decide to eat or even snack late at night in the dark against their better judgment, while hungrily watching the great leader do. Then finally, any and all windows that may remain shall be covered, and every single one sealed up tight as a drum with thick, strong sheets of foreign steel, lag screws, and low bid bolts. They will be installed by certified, bonded, desperate, and groveling suppliers to prevent folks from the final act of defenestration, trying only to get outside to breathe in spring. And now,
I want to have
Talk
your
among-
hair when I'm that age.
talk amongst yourselves.
You know?
You want my... I had a woman come up to me in the grocery store once and start putting her fingers in my hair. I mean, in the grocery store.
What?
And she's saying,
she could have been on
she's saying, oh, you just have such lovely hair. And I'm like going, I didn't have anything to do with it.
Steve Bridges in aisle 3.
Hair today. I found the produce I was looking for.
I had a waitress at an Olive Garden rub my belly because I asked for more meatballs one time.
Yeah,
So we've all been there.
I know.
But all right. So with that, I'd just like to thank everybody for being here. Again, I'd like to thank Mark. I'd like to thank Tony. I'd like to thank this building for being here. It's a great spot. I will say I have some newer chapbooks out on that table as well. If anyone wants one of those, if they kick John and Shelley a couple bucks, go ahead and take one. My larger concern is them getting home all right. So I thank you, appreciate you. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back here May 13th at 6 o'clock for Agnes and her book release. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Remember, we didn't need you.
Oh,
We didn't need you.
it was fabulous.
And
I
there's-
have your book, that Rellenum, but it's not, it's so much more fun if you read it out loud. It's really, it's a whole different. Thank you.
Oh man, so much good stuff. I love your work.